Our next keynote speaker is Captain Retired Charlene Downey. Ms. Downey has completed her service in the U.S. Coast Guard in June 2018 after serving over 26 years on active duty. Final assignment was as Sector Commander as the LALB California. During her career, she has commanded 3 operational units and was one of the first women to command a Coast Guard Marine Safety and Security team, where she and her team completed a 7-month deployment to Joint Task Force Gitmo, Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and responded to the devastating Haiti earthquake in 2010. 2 tours at Officer Personal Management, Assignment Officer for Support and Special Assignments, and Chief of the Board's Promotions and Separations Branch. Captain Downey also received the U.S. Coast Guard Captain Dorothy Stratton Inspirational Leadership Award for her efforts following the tragic events of 9/11. Please help me welcome Captain Downey. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Where did everyone go? There's no love. Well, it's truly an honor for me to be here. Thank you, Chief, for that introduction. It is always a good day to be amongst Coast Guard men and women. And also thank you to Daimler for the facility, and some of your folks are attending as well. This is going to be fun, I hope. I need your participation. We've had some really, really great conversations or presentations about difficult conversations, and this is probably one of them. It's probably one of them. Oh, here comes Christy. Darn it. It's going to be giving me faces back there. I'm always the most nervous whenever I'm talking in front of a group of women, because women can judge like there's no tomorrow, right? I know what you're thinking. Man, she's short. What is she wearing? What is she? She Asian? Hispanic? Native American? What is she? She married? What else? Am I right? Who was thinking that? All right, some people actually telling the truth. But the guys, they're like, what's for lunch? What does her shirt say? Who knows who can see my shirt?
Great.
What's wrong with it?
But it's spelled like great.
It's spelled wrong. G-R-E-A-T. And no, I did not buy this on sale. I actually asked to have it made. Why? I'll tell you in a second.
Full of greatness.
Yes, because each and every one of you are full of greatness. So if you don't remember anything I talked about here today, remember this, okay? You're full of greatness. So let me tell you about me. I am 5'2", happily married, gay, Hispanic, former captain. I'm not retired. I will only retire when I cross the bar. And I am grateful from the gratitude sense. Grateful for every opportunity I've had, every challenge. Grateful to be here. Grateful for you, for serving our country, for doing the best jobs that you could possibly do, for being here to learn. And how about a shout out to the men? I don't think I've ever been to a women's conference where I've seen this many men. So let's give yourselves a hand. Awesome. All right, we're going to talk today a little bit about cultivating a culture of inclusion. I'm going to talk about why. And then the main points are how do we do it? And then we're going to actually do it. You're going to help me do it. We're going to do it today. We're going to make steps forward in cultivating a culture of inclusion. So why are we still having this conversation? The word inclusion is fairly new. I mean, it's been around. It used to be just the Office of Diversity, right? And now we have an Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Does anyone know when that started? I don't know, maybe, I say everything 5 years ago, but then people are like, that was 20 years ago. Maybe 10 years ago. Anyway, it's fairly new. But when I looked out into the audience, this is what I saw. Are we tired of it? Maybe. Actually, I think it's something maybe Christy posted, a podcast or something about diversity fatigue. Was it you, Christy? Maybe one of your colleagues? They had a podcast about diversity fatigue, and like anything, we get training after training. Yes, we know it's important. If I asked every one of you why it's important to have a culture of inclusion, you could tell me. But why are we still having the conversation? Because it's hard. The concept isn't hard, the execution is. Because it's uncomfortable. Those conversations we just started to get into with the last panel, that was a little uncomfortable, right? But it was important. Very important. Because we're creatures of habit. How many of you came in today with the mindset of, I'm going to go into this conference and I'm going to sit and mix and mingle with every person that I do not know? Anybody? All right, we do have someone, but most of the time it's hard, right? It's uncomfortable. We're creatures of habit. We go right to the people we know, or right to the people that look like us, right? It's just what we do. That's what our brain does. So, why are we still having it? Because it's important. And why is it important? That I don't fall off the stage. It's important to job satisfaction. Study after study shows that if you have an inclusive culture, people at work are satisfied. It's important to recruiting and retention. This is big for the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard just came out with the women's retention study. It didn't tell us anything we didn't already know, right? Maybe a few things, but most of it, it's like, yep, I could have told you that. It's important for productivity. If people are happy at work, if people feel included, if people feel that they belong, not just fitting in. There's a difference, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. If they feel that they belong, they're going to produce. How many generations do you think we have in the workforce today? How many? Anybody can guess? Besides Christy? I've heard 4? 5. 5 is correct. What are they? Do we have any traditionalists in the room? Or any that are willing to admit? Boomers. Where are the boomers? All right, there's boomers here. Gen Xers. All right. I want my MTV. Gen Y. Millennials. Yes, we love our millennials. And the next generation, Z, generation 2020. I think that if I do my math correctly, definitely not fit, thank you. I think it's 22. So the math is wrong here. If you were born in 1997, you're 22. We have 5 generations working. Do we have 5 generations in the Coast Guard? Yeah. Civilians. We have auxiliaries. We have 5 generations. Now you might think, whoa, this is a lot. Look at what these generations have been through, each one. So interesting. I could talk about this for another hour, but I won't. But look at the opportunity here. what we can learn from these generations. This is why inclusion is important. And if you don't believe any of those other things, job satisfaction, recruitment and retention, productivity, 5 generations, the last is because the commandant says so. Right? He says, in order for us to be responsive, relevant, and ready, inclusion is a culture. It's not part of a culture, it is a culture that recognizes, values, and respects each individual and promotes collaboration and fairness to enable all members of the workforce to reach their full potential. And I'm going to say to go beyond your full potential, because most of us limit ourselves. Christy said this earlier, we're our own worst critic. We're the first one to tell ourselves we can't do something. But guess what? It's all of you that help encourage one another. It's up to each and every one of you to create and cultivate a culture of inclusion. For those that want the stats and the statistics, I've done a lot of research on this and it's out there. But I found this most interesting, this survey. Over 77% of adults in 4 different countries consider a company's culture before applying there. They value mission. They value culture over salary. Culture matters more to millennials and young adults, especially in the US and UK. They value culture over salary. And this was just done this past summer. It's important. All right, so we talked about why it's important. I firmly believe this. If the Coast Guard can't do it, nobody can. Why? Look at, this is just the past, 3 weeks? What's that top picture? The rescue off of Georgia, Savannah. What's the middle picture? Hurricane Dorian. What's the bottom picture? The boat fire off Santa Cruz Island where 34 people died. The Coast Guard was front and center in the news. And just yesterday, I could have added another slide. Just yesterday, Houston, who saw the rescues in the floods? Houston, just this is headline news. So the Coast Guard, you have the missions. You have the values. You took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. You're a cut above. You agreed, you volunteered to serve our country and to be held to the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Not everybody does that. So you're already special. You already took a commitment. You already value, you have your core values. Do you know that when I joined the Coast Guard, we didn't even have core values? That was hard. You just celebrated the 25th anniversary of the core values. Honor, respect, devotion to duty. This is why I say, if you can't do it, nobody can. You can do it. All right, how? Check out my orchids. Why do you think I use the word cultivate? I heard growth. Grow and nurture. And what else? It's a process, right? It's a daily process. So I never owned an orchid in my life, except maybe one of those plastic ones. But I got this purple one from Captain Sturgis and Captain Rochester when our little doggie of 17 years crossed the Rainbow Bridge. And I adored it. And I thought, I'm going to try to keep this orchid. Everybody says they're the toughest things to grow. I knew nothing about it, nothing. I didn't even Google it, but I just watched this thing, and suddenly, you see all those roots coming out the bottom? It was like Stranger Things. These things start crawling out. I have no idea what it is, but I just let it go. I let it do its thing. And then it just started flourishing. And I tried to water, I did these things, but my point in all this is, if you can keep an orchid, if you could keep a plant, just do the same thing with people. Nurture, give them light, put them in the right environment, give them tools, talk to them. Who talks to their plants? All right, I'm not the only crazy one. I have full-on conversations with my plants, and look at them. They're happy. So let's talk about cultivating. You need to show up. This is a quote right from your mission. I love the mission of this forum. Intentional application of habits and skills that will result in an environment that's safe. People need to feel safe when they go to work. That's comfortable. And by comfortable, I mean, remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs? You know, you have to have food, shelter, safety. Those are paramount. People need to be comfortable. I'm going to talk about not staying comfortable, getting out of your comfort zone. That's something different. It needs to be fun. Who wants to go to work and it's boring? It has to be fun, right? And winning, right, Christy? Got to be winning. All right, how do we do this? So I thought I came up with this thing, and I was going to call it 4D leadership. And then I thought, I better Google this because somebody else may have done this. And sure enough, somebody stole my idea. It's out there already, but I'm still going to, actually I should call it 5D leadership, Downey's 4Ds. If you Google it, I'm not trying to copyright anybody's material. These are things that I have found that have been beneficial for me, and want to share with you how we can do this together. Decide, delegate, disarm, and deliver. All right, so let's talk about deciding. Deciding. Here's that word intentional again. Christy used intentions. If you read any leadership books, if you read anything about people that are successful, they have a mindset, they practice mindfulness, they live consciously. They make decisions every single day about what they're going to do, about what they're going to say, about goals they're going to achieve. Intentions. We have to have an intention of cultivating an inclusive environment in your own way. So you're going to decide, we're going to decide right here and now today to do this. How many of you get in your car and you put on the radio and you get driving and then you land at your destination and have no idea how you got there? Our brains are amazing because they make us do, our brain makes us do things that we have no idea. You know, we're sitting here breathing. I have no idea how that's happening. I can see you. I have no idea how that's getting transformed into this brain and creating pictures. It's amazing. We only use 30% of it. It's just like the computers. I only know how to do 10% of what that thing is capable of doing. Same with our brain, but not if you train it. It's a muscle, just like your heart or your biceps or your quads. Train your brain to think and decide how you're going to do this, how you're going to treat people, how you're going to cultivate. Today, I'm going to sit next to someone I don't know. I'm going to have a difficult conversation that I know isn't going to be easy, but I have to do it because I'm a leader, or I have to do it because it's part of my job, or I have to do it because I don't want to see this person fail, or I have to do it because this person has a ton of potential. Every day you decide what you're going to do to cultivate. It's so much fun. It really is. And then when you see the results, it's even better. Delegate. By delegate, and this is all stuff you've heard before, but I don't mean abdicating all your responsibilities. I don't mean disappearing. I don't mean dumping what you're supposed to be doing on the next person. This graphic actually I got from the Portland State University. It shows exactly what I mean. It means giving people the power to think, to do. You need to train them to do your job. It inspires growth, and it inspires trust. So does deciding inspires trust. Delegating inspires trust. If you don't have trust with your people, this inclusion isn't going to work. A lot of things aren't going to work. Delegating, it's so important. There's a saying out there that says, I might get it mixed up, train people so they can leave, treat them so they stay. You heard that? Something like that? Did I get it right, Christy? But that's so powerful, isn't it? You need to train someone to take your job. And for those that are just entering the Coast Guard, you can train too. It goes both ways, every way. Train each other, train yourself, delegate. Disarm. Who knows who this is? Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers is a master at disarming. Who grew up watching Mr. Rogers? Did you not feel that he was talking exactly to you? Like there was no one else in the room. And when he went in and did his coming to work, I'm going to take my jacket off. I'm going to put my sweater on. I'm going to take my fancy shoes off. I'm going to put my tennis shoes on. This is my homage to Mr. Rogers. And I didn't think about this until I was an adult. But I think what he's doing there was getting his mind ready, getting his self ready, doing that self-centering. Not being self-centered, there's a big difference. Doing that self-centering to say, to talk to you, to talk to me, to disarm. He took off that fancy stuff and said, I'm going to talk to you. I don't care what you look like. I don't care who you are. I don't care that you don't like to play with dolls. Because that was me growing up. I don't like to play with dolls, but maybe I should be. I don't know. But when Mr. Rogers told me that he liked me just the way I was, it was so huge. So that's why I say disarm. We all wear the uniform, right? Part of the reason why you're here in civilian clothes is, disarm. Let's have conversations. It doesn't mean that when you're in uniform, you still can't do that. People respect you for your rank, right? They know who you are. Just because you might want to sit down and have a difficult conversation doesn't mean that you can't do that by putting up a shield, you know? You've got to let it down. Disarm. This is all about communication and relationships. Listening. Let's talk about communication. There's a saying out there, I think it was a Greek philosopher that says, you know, you have something like 2 ears and 1 mouth, use them in proportion. You should listen. Listening is huge. And you all hear about, oh, don't start having, you start having a conversation in your mind while another person's talking. If you're actively listening, you're doing just that. You're not trying to change people's minds. You're not trying to add your 2 cents. The same thing with empathy. Master Chief mentioned empathy. That empathy is difficult. A lot of people think empathy is, I know exactly how you feel because that same thing happened to me. No, it didn't. Why? Because I'm not you. Each and every one of you are unique. Each and every one of you experience things differently, see things differently. There is no way that I could know how you feel. But what I can do is share your feelings. I can be there with you. And I don't have to say anything. But you know, maybe that it just stinks. I'm sorry. I'm here. I'm listening. You don't have to say a word. That's empathy. So communication, listening, disarm. Remember, Mr. Rogers, he's a master at it. If you ever think you want to have a difficult conversation, prepare for it in advance and disarm. Think about what outcome you want. Think about the setting, everything that Master Chief said. So important. All right, finally, deliver. Need I say more? All right, when you look in the mirror, this better be who you see. Men included. I mean, who doesn't want to use a lasso like that truth lasso? Wonder Woman, do you ever doubt that she's going to do her job? Or any superhero for that matter? What I mean by deliver is do what you say you're going to do. Walk the talk. Do it better than you did the last time. I mean, be perfect? Absolutely not. Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. But don't give anyone room to question you or your abilities or your work ethic or your quality of work or your intentions. When you deliver, when you say what you're going to do, or when you communicate, you know, I'm not going to get it done by the deadline, and here's why, or can I have more time? Before the deadline, not after. Before, you communicate. Everything will be fine. So, those 4 things, I guarantee you, if you come with the intention of deciding, delegating, disarming, and delivering, you're going to have a great culture that values everything that you bring to the table. It's all unique and different. Every single one of you, have to stop and think about this. We all look different, except if there's identical twins, right? So this is the value of diversity, of inclusion. You don't see every single thing there is to see. We have to rely on each other for our blind spots. And back to that delegation where I said everything, you know, we only use 30% or 20% of our brain. And if you empower and you let people do their jobs, guess what that allows you to do? It allows you to get to know what you don't know. That term that gets overused a lot. We don't know what we don't know. But you have all the time now to improve things, to learn more, to ask people, what should we do about this? You're not the one with all the answers, right? But somebody will have it. We have very smart people. And ask people before you ask Google, right? Smart people. This is like my favorite quote of all time. Who knows Brené Brown? Okay, if you don't, highly recommend Braving the Wilderness, Dare to Lead. She's got a Netflix show. But this is the quote that I love. And she's quoting a 12-year-old. Brilliant. If I get to be myself, I belong. If I have to be like you, I fit in. That's so good. We want to belong, right? We want to belong. That's going to be our measure of success. If you're in a command cadre role and you want to know how your people are doing, what your environment is like, ask them. Do you feel like you belong? Do you feel like you belong here? Do you feel safe? Is it fun? Is it winning? They'll tell you. If you disarm, they'll tell you. That's your measure of success. Do we belong? Everybody with me? Yes. All right. So now we're going to do a little exercise. Are you ready? Who's done karaoke? Sober. One person? Two people. All right. All right. So what I want to do here is to give you all an experience, right? Okay, so if we can, my karaoke singers, what do you love about it? A song that you know. Okay, can you sing? But you still do it, right? Because it's fun. Who sings in the shower? Or in your car? And you blast, what is your go-to song? And you blast it, and you sound better than they do. Everybody, right? Okay, so I'm awful lonely up here, and I need some company. Who wants to come up here and participate in this exercise with me?
I don't have to sing, I'll come.
Come on, Captain, come on up. That's the leader right here. Give her a hand. All right, Captain. Way to lead. Okay, no singing. Oh. All right, everybody, get up now. Come on.
I try
get
to
up.
discover
You know this song. Come on.
a little something to make me sweeter.
Wants to get up here.
Oh, baby, refrain
All right, and here's some claps.
from breaking my heart.
Come on, Captain.
I'm so in love with you. I'll be forever blue. That you give
you all so much. But wasn't that fun? We let loose a little. The captain said, as long as you don't make me sing. But she was up here dancing, right? Thank you. Let's give our volunteer. Christy, thanks for dragging everybody up here. What I wanted to prove was you don't have to sing, you don't have to dance. You might have been embarrassed. I broke this thing, by the way. I knew.
That's a good time.
Christina, I am high maintenance. She's been taking care of me for how long it's been since April. She reached out to me and now I broke, it's like fell apart right there. I got so excited. But the point of all this was just to have fun, let loose a little, show people that you're human. You don't have to sing, but we know you all do when you're in the car. That's good. All right, keep leading the way in your own way. You're all unique and different and beautiful and have so much to offer to this organization. Your core values, you know it. Honor, be true to yourself. Respect, be true to your shipmates. Devotion to duty, be true to the Coast Guard or your organization. Thank you so much. Keep doing the great job that you're doing. It was an honor to be part of this. I'll be here all day. I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to hear your story. And, you know, like Christy said, I'm venturing off into the coaching business too. If you're interested in working with me, I'd love to work with you. But have a great time. Thank you so much again and appreciate it.
Thank you. Does anybody, thank you. Thank you for helping getting our blood going. We'd like to go ahead and present an award. Lieutenant Commander Olson, I'd like to go ahead and present our gratitude. We lay petals of gratitude at your feet.